So you want to get long a strong stock, perhaps on a pullback, but you're not quite sure when and how to buy. Often you buy and you get stopped out, or you place your bids trying to get long, never get filled, and then watch the stock trade much higher. Well, in this video, we discuss how to get long a stock that's strong on a higher time frame, our longer term technical charts, so you make excellent risk-reward trades. If you want to learn how to grow your trading account using a timeless trading strategy, then stick around and watch this video. Hi, I'm Mike Bellafiore, co-founder of SMB Capital, and we're a proprietary trading firm located in Midtown Manhattan. And I'm also the author of the trading classic, One Good Trade, and the Playbook. Click our subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos that we're producing for you in the trading community. Well, in this video, you're going to learn how to make a pullback trade. You're also going to learn how to use intraday signals to enter, the reasons this was a good trade to buy in a pullback, the important considerations with an analyst downgrade, how to identify a powerful breakout that you want to buy into a pullback. And as always, we hope the biggest reward for watching videos that we're producing for you in the trading community is how to think through a trade like a pro. For those of you who want to see a winning trade to add to your trading business, check out this video. If you want to learn 3 real-world setups that our traders use, including the simple setup that we teach all of our new traders, and the setup that turned one of our traders into a 7-figure big money earner, check out the free webinar that we're currently running. Just go ahead and click the link that should be appearing right now at the top right-hand corner of your screen. That's going to open up the free registration page in a new window. Don't worry, you're not going to lose this video. You can also visit tradingworkshop.com to register for this free, intensive, awesome workshop. You're going to learn more in a couple of hours from this trading workshop than from years of online education.
I wanted to talk about Roku because I made a really good playbook setup on it. It was a larger time frame pullback, and so I'll just dive right into it. So let's talk about the intraday fundamentals first and foremost. That led me to allow myself to trade the stock in the first place. So the ATR of Roku on the day that I was taking the setup was 4.1. R-vol was 1.56, which is well within the range of acceptable R-vol for my trade. Short float 8.59%. Nothing too notable, but I mean it is still higher than, like, obviously it's still high enough to where you might get some significant run up, but nothing too crazy, obviously. Average daily volume is 7.5 million shares, which is again well within the range for me to allow myself to trade the stock. It means that I could scale this trade as big as I want without affecting market liquidity or without affecting slippage or anything like that. Change from close percent was negative 2.1. This is a statistic that I've historically found in my trades that where if the change from close percent is too small, I generally lose on the trade. Generally not isn't moving enough for me. Another thing that I love about this is that there was a bogus downgrade by a tier 3 bank. What I've kind of caught on to since coming to SMB is that generally when you get a bogus downgrade and then you get a after hours price action going in the direction of the downgrade or upgrade, it generally gets faded by the real traders that come in once the market opens up. So I kind of had this in the back of my head where, if Roku was to start failing this downgrade, meaning it would start, pushing back up, then I would start getting interested, for the long side.
Hey, Nano, just a quick question. So you said that a certain percent change is meaningful to your results. Can you share what you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I found basically is that if I have a change from close percent being like 0 to 0.5%, I generally don't get a large move or a significant trade out of it. A lot of my trades, a lot of my P&L come from like 70 to 80% of my trades. And what I've noticed is in the trades that do work out very well, I have generally at least -1 to +1% change from close percent. And that generally, just like from a fundamental standpoint, what it means to me is that the stock is moving, right? And the stock has some volatility and it has some movement in it, right? It's not just ranging intraday. It has potential to make a larger ATR move.
Got it.
So yeah, let's go on to the next slide, which is the SPY higher time frame. Now, Roku isn't necessarily I would consider like exactly a market stock. It's not going to follow the market. It might, obviously like if I see SPY downtrending hard, I'm not, I'll be a bit more careful with Roku. But it's not like an Apple. It's not like a Facebook. I'm not going to care too much what SPY is doing. And so I didn't emphasize the SPY too much. But it's still important to note that, SPY is strong. It was at all-time high prior day. It didn't really get sold off very hard from there. Nothing too notable here. But yeah, just let me take into consideration here, taking a look at the big market, the big picture market. So yeah, let's dive into the higher time frame for Roku itself. And this is what caught my eye. You guys can see here this uptrend that has started a few days before the earnings, right? Ever since we've uptrended from there, we hadn't had a significant pullback, right? And so I kept drawing fibs and I just kept waiting until like a significant pullback came so I could kind of get long the stock. And I had this stock on my watch list for quite a while. As soon as I started noticing that Roku like broke below the 236 retrace from whatever high it made, then I got interested in finding where it could stop that pullback so I can get long on a higher time frame. And so what interested me here so much is you guys can see there's not a lot of volume, right, on the selling that started on the high of the trend, right? There wasn't like a clear formation on top that would indicate that it was a topping formation. There wasn't a head and shoulders. There wasn't a big triangle top. It just looks like a pullback, right? The volume isn't scary. Everything looks good for this to only be a pullback and for it to continue higher. Another notable thing here is that we were coming into the 382 retrace. While I don't want to take fibs like too seriously, I mean, it's just another level. 88 is another higher time frame level anyways. But it's just interesting to me that the past two trends that have pulled back on the higher time frame for Roku have stopped at 382. So it's just something that I kept in my mind as, okay, this is another point of confluence for my higher time frame price level. $88 is already a level. The 382 retrace is there. Great. It's just a little bit of a bonus for the $88 level for me. So, what I was looking for here is let me see if we can get down to 88. If we start reversing off of there, I want to try to get long and potentially hold, for a swing trade here.
All right, so another thing to be thinking about is when Roku breaks out, how would you describe the volume on the longer term chart?
I mean, it's massive, right? I mean, if you look at the earnings gap that it had, it never looked back.
And when you look at the earning, yep, so you get a lot of volume that comes into that breakout on our daily chart, right? And then the news catalyst for Roku, how would you describe that?
Oh, it was very clear. The company gave a much stronger outlook. In fact, I can read it straight off of here. It said Roku had an outstanding first quarter, delivering better than expected financial results with strong business momentum. And then they increased their financial outlook for 2019. And of course, investors are going to jump onto this like crazy. This space isn't too crowded. There's not a lot of stocks in this space, that are taking up the market cap. So, so Roku, doing this type of, giving this type of outlook, of course, investors are going to jump onto this. They see more subscribers onto this stock. This company they're neutral on what I think they call themselves content neutral. So they're really, they're offering their service to such a large variety of users that I think a lot of investors, understand is not just a small niche market, right? That people, as young as age 10 or people as old as 60 could use Roku as a service, right?
Yep. So not all pull-ins are created equal, right? So you do a good job pointing out that the pull-in is on low volume, and that's something we really want to look for. We want to take note of the fact that the breakout on our higher time frame had a tremendous amount of volume that came in. We want to note that the news catalyst for the breakout was quite significant. We want to note that there aren't enough places to put capital for this space that Nano points out. So this is not just a pull and trade on light volume. This is a pull and trade on light volume in a stock that people really want to own, that has very specific characteristics for how it broke out and for why people really want to own it, and is moving towards a category of, hey, this has a lot more upside to it. Okay? All right, let's go. What do we got next?
Okay, great. So let's talk about my game plan that day, and this is a chart and game plan that I posted onto the SMB group. And so you can see here on like the 15-minute time frame here that we've been kind of consolidating for a few days. So it's a 4-day range. We're getting a bogus downgrade. We're gapping down from that range. So my take on this is, okay, we could downtrend lower, yes, or we could retake this range and see new highs. And so the game plan was simple. If we get back above 90, look for a place to get long. If we flush down to 88, see if we can reverse there, right? Because that's the higher time frame level that we talked about. And if so, then let's get long there. So it really was a simple setup because, a retake of the range shows the strength, right? A reversal off 88 also shows strength. Otherwise, really maybe we trade the stock from level to level because it's in play to the downside. But really, the swing trade, right, was for the upside.
All right, so this is what I want to talk about. So when you're thinking about identifying a higher time frame pull and trade, you're going to your higher time frame and you're saying, hey, I want to own this if it moves into this particular area. And I'm identifying a couple of different technical levels for that. That is starting a position from a higher time frame based on your technicals. Okay, and that's very important to do. But what do the best active short-term traders do? Do they just buy that pull-in to 88? Do they just wait for a stock to get above an important technical level? No, what they do is they look for a very specific intraday pattern that also signals a buy, that also is a buy signal in of itself. And they combine that with that longer term signal. And when you can combine those two, that's when you can get really big. That's when you can put on a lot of risk by looking at your longer term charts. So that's where I want you to scrub this idea, because this is a good one, right? This is a stock really worth trying to own again. But challenge yourself to say, did I have a really good intraday signal for this setup as well?
Absolutely. I'm glad that you mentioned that because, in the past, I focused so much on like this one higher time frame level. But as of recently, something I've definitely improved on is let me look at the 30-minute, let me look at the 15-minute, because this pullback might happen not just on the 5-minute, right? I might not see the reversal on the 5-minute, right? I might see the reversal rather on the 15-minute time frame. And I needed to give this stock a bit more time to react to this level, to break back within the range. And I gave the price action a bit more time to breathe here because I understood that it wasn't just going to be the $88 level that was going to give me that great entry. It was going to be the overall price action that's happened over the past 4 days that was going to indicate where it's going to be reasonable to get long.
Yeah, so if I got a capitulation intraday pattern into this longer term 88 level, I've got a really good trade. That's nowhere near the same trade as something's trickling down on low volume into 88. Not the same trade. If I've got something that trades off too hard intraday, spends a lot of time below VWAP, and now crosses above VWAP for the first time in 2 hours on a particular day and is above 90, I've got a really good trade by combining my intraday signal with my longer term signal. Not the same trade is I'm just buying this into price. Not the same trade, not the same trade at all. And you can't just look at these longer term charts because they won't work. If you look at your longer term charts and try and buy 88 and try and buy 90 every single time, that is not a professional trade for an active trader. That will not work. That is not how you put big money to work. That's not how you become a 7-figure trader. We're not here to make 6 figures. You've got to put the two together, and it's got to make sense for you, the way that you put risk on. Okay, so keep thinking about being most specific with that, and you're on the right path, because this is a really good long-term opportunity here. This is a really good opportunity that we're finding on our long-term charts. All right, what's next?
Absolutely. So the next slide just goes over my entry. So admittedly, initially things didn't go as planned. And so let me talk about that for a second, because this is what I want to improve on. I was trying to scalp the stock in and out, and I'm still working on my scalping strategy. I'm not very profitable with scalping. And obviously understanding that Roku is in play and understanding that this price action might not have given me the perfect entry for the long-term setup, immediately, I understood that it would be a good opportunity here to try to scalp in and out, make some extra risk really for my day. But unfortunately, that didn't work out as well as I hoped, because I ended up missing the great entry. And in hindsight, it didn't matter so much, but let me talk about this. I shorted Roku for a morning drive at the open because it was pulling in to the level. The tape was weak, and there was still some selling. And I was in profit on my short, and that really got me, I think, a little bit too zoomed in, a little bit too caught up in the 1-minute time frame. And that was unfortunate, but it did happen. I ended up stopping out of my short, but unfortunately the stop out of my short was really the best entry to get long. But I think the frustration of stopping out of a trade kind of blinded me from my overall game plan. And so that's why, as you guys can see here, once Roku retook the 382 retrace, right, the $88 level, I didn't get long because I was too caught up worrying about my scalp, which a mistake that this is a mistake I really want to work on in the future, because I would have a more protected entry now today if I had not been so worried about my scalp intraday. With that said, I still managed to get long the stock at a great price, right? So as soon as I noticed what was going on, as soon as I stopped being on tilt, I realized that Roku was strong. It was putting in a higher low. It is starting to reverse off some really great volume, right? So you guys, the 1 minute might not show it as well, but if you go up to the higher time frame, you can see there's a lot of volume done down there. And so you can see here, as soon as we retook high of day, that's when I decided like this was going to be a spot to get long. This stock is now showing the strength that I want to see for me to get long. And while obviously I do wish I had some risk down at 88, regardless, I would have really added the chunk of my risk on the retake of high of day, because that's selling in the morning, and the retake of all that selling, that traps a lot of people, right? I mean, and just from a psychological perspective, you see a stock get sold in the morning, and then at 9:50 or 10 a.m. it retakes that opening print, and it retakes that level. That's significant, because a stock generally does a lot of its volume right in the morning. That's when you might expect the stock to go the direction that you're looking for, right? But for it to reverse, at 9:40 and then keep that volume and keep that uptrend at 10 a.m. and have enough strength to retake it, that was impressive to me. And I got long at the retake of high of day. And I just kept adding to my position whenever I saw the tape hold. That high of day print. And you can see here, like, the wicks to the downside, and this is on the 1 minute wick. So like, you can just imagine as a trader, looking at the tape here, every time it would come into high of day, I would just see buy. Everyone's just buying there. And so I was just joining into that buying. I was joining into that strength. And I was just kept putting my buy orders around 89.30, 89.40. And so I scaled into my full position size, between 10 and 10:20 a.m.
All right, good. So that you bring up something that's really important, which is if you're near a long-term support level and you want to be thinking about the big picture for an overall trade, right? What's the big picture for an overall trade? Well, the big picture for this trade is I want to try and buy support. I want to try and buy a pull-in near support. And that's 90, that's 88. That's the big picture. And so if I have that in mind, then when we're close to 88 bucks, we shouldn't really be playing around with a scalp, right? We should be observing and have our full attention on, hey, how can we get long? Because it's really hard to go from short to flat to long. It's much easier just to go to long. And so, if you only have a little bit to make on a scalp and you're close to support, one, your risk is high of being wrong. You're going to be wrong a lot more on those particular scalps. But your real risk, you point out really well, your real risk is that you're going to miss the real trade. And that's easy to do as an active trader. That is an example of not keeping the big picture in mind and overtrading a little bit. Where's the real trade? Where am I going to pull out $10,000 in a particular trade? Where am I going to pull out $20,000 in a particular trade? Where am I going to pull out $50,000 in a particular trade? As opposed to where am I going to pull out a couple of $100? You want to keep that in mind. All right, but good that you got back in and I figured out how to get long. I think you were still long this morning.
Yes, I am still long as of right now. And I actually a lot of my shares were sold into the $100 level. And I'm looking to hold more, hopefully till 108 or so, which is around all-time highs.
Yeah, I mean so you're talking about trying to make 50 cents in a scalp and worrying about that versus, my math's not that good these days, but 20 points? 20 points higher.
Something along those lines. I see what you're saying here. It's definitely silly to, obviously in hindsight, it's silly that I was even playing around at such a crucial level. I should have been far more focused on my game plan. I should have been far more focused on the overall picture, and I shouldn't have been scalping there unless I was experienced in doing so, which I'm not.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, questions.
When you started longing after the stock was approaching the high of day, right? Right as it passed that top of the wick. Where did you set your stop, or where did you think your stop was going to be as it was kind of getting or testing that level that the wick formed?
Good question. Houston, would you please mind going to slide 10, my trade execution, so we can actually look at the executions themselves? I want to make sure that that we talk about where I got long. I didn't get long approaching high of day. I got long after we retook high of day. I got long after I realized there was volume in the retake. I got long after the 5-minute was able to hold above high of day. And so once I got long there, I was risking off those wicks that you're seeing. So, my initial entry where I put in a bunch of long orders, that was risking off, call it 89, maybe 88.75. But what mattered was that last execution that you're seeing on the right side, the buy execution there. That's where I actually got heavy, because that's when the tape confirmed my entry. And you can notice here how low I got my entry relative to the wicks that you're seeing to the left, right? Because that's when I noticed that's going to be my tightest RR right there. That's where I was able to get the heaviest, knowing that I was going to stop out right below those last wicks on the left. And if I was going to stop out, I was going to retry this, over and over again, because my risk is so small here, right? I'm like risking maybe 25, 50 cents, right? Like, it's so easy, because when you're risking that much, you can get so heavy and not be scared, right? Because, this stock allows you to do that. So, again, I was risking off those wicks that you're seeing on my initial buys. And really the heaviest purchase was that right purchase right there, which is, at the lowest part of the range.
Hey, Nano, we were at dinner the other day, and you were mentioning that in your best trades, you weren't taking a lot of heat on those trades, and you're working on really sizing up on them. For whatever reason, your best trades weren't really trading against you very much.
Yes, absolutely, and that's the point that I want to touch on here. The MAE for this stock was nearly zero, and my best trades have a nearly zero MAE, and it's really simple fundamentally why that's the case, right? Because a stock that has strong order flow, a stock that where your idea is right, is likely going to move in your direction very quickly. And if it doesn't, then it's so much easier to hit out of it than go through those large drawdowns, intra trade. And the biggest thing for me about staying not emotional about my setup is to not see my trade go against me too much. I'm not trying to bottom tick every trade, right? But what I am trying to do is get the tightest risk possible. And it's crucial if you want to get heavy on a stock, so you get the tightest risk. You can't hold 10,000 shares and let the stock go against you $1. But I'll tell you what, I can take 10,000 shares, let it go against me maybe 50 cents and maybe 20 cents. Now I'm okay with that. That's something I can breathe through. And you can notice this trend throughout all my trader view trades. If you pull up my graph, you can see that again, just like Mike just said, my highest P&L trades have the lowest MAE, and that's not by coincidence.
My name is Tarek, and I'm just listening in. There are a few things I want to say about this stock because I trade the stock a lot. I trade this versus Netflix as a pair. So I don't trade this outright by itself. So this particular stock has few things either going for itself or not. Whenever this stock comes out with good or bad earnings, the stock moves in the same direction for the rest of the quarter. But when you said a bogus analyst downgraded it, the guy's name is Mark Mahaney. He's absolutely not bogus. He is one of the best analysts for Netflix, for Amazon, for Google. So you've got to be just a little careful when you define the word bogus when it comes to him, particularly. So that is number two.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Yeah, so number three, whenever he comes out and says something about Roku, Roku trades in that direction. So on that day when he downgraded it, I shorted the name. I typically go long Roku, short Netflix at 9:31 to 9:36 in the morning, and I play it out till the end of the day. So that day I did go short. Then the following day I did not trade it because I wanted to see how much it moved, and it moved Friday or whenever it was quite a lot on no news. And today I'm here and I'm long Roku, short Netflix again, just to let you know. So yes, you're right in how you set the trade up and everything, but just be a little careful on how you define someone bogus.
I'll definitely take that into consideration in the future. You bring up a very good point. Thank you.
Hey, go ahead and click our subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos that we're producing for you in the trading community. And please take the time to add your feedback in the comment section for what videos you'd like for us to produce next and what you found helpful from this video. From all of us at S&B, train and trade well.